Hi, I'm Lou. I've nicknamed myself Lou No Nose for obvious reasons. I've been with Cancer United for 2.5 years now, and I'd like to tell you my story. Before my diagnosis, I actually was a very active person. I worked up at Gatwick Airport for 18 years as a beauty consultant. I ran a very healthy and fit lifestyle. I've got two grown-up children and a granddaughter, and I used to work about 50 to 60 hours a week. So I think that says it all, that I actually just didn't stop. I had a good social life as well, and I wish to continue. I had nosebleeds in my left nostril for year upon year, didn't think anything about it. And then my nose started swelling at the end, quite boldly. My daughter said, "I don't like the look of your nose, Mum." She sent me to the doctor. Wrong diagnosis. They thought I had an infection, which is understandable. And I went back 2 weeks later, and I was very lucky to have a doctor that was under ear, nose and throat, and she sent me to the hospital. I got diagnosed, I had a biopsy, and within 3 weeks I was under the knife. And the shock was having to be told having to be told that I'm going to have my nose removed, the whole of my nose, just like that. And that was a big, major shock. I did not expect that. I did not see that coming. I went through a lot of emotions, you can imagine, when the consultant actually told me. Prior to that, I was in such a state because waiting for a biopsy is not great. You've got to wait at least a couple of weeks for it to be analysed. And then I went to see the consultant. I was very lucky. My sister came with me. And when I got in there, I was quite calm at the time because I didn't know what was going to be thrown at me. And the consultant was very kind, very calm, very collective. And he said, there is only one option: to lose my nose. And that was a hell of a shock because I did not expect that. Because the problem was, if he'd left some of my nose there, it could have come back, and that would not have been an option. So I literally stood up and walked out of the room that time, and I just collapsed in a heap on the floor, absolutely sobbing my heart out. And then the other thing was waiting 2 weeks for the operation, not knowing what was going to be done. That was horrible. I hate operations. It's not so much the operation, it's the anaesthetic. I can't bear having a face mask over me, and the whole thing was really scary. It's the fear of the unknown. It was just such a shock because it just came from nowhere. There was no, I didn't have any pain or anything. It was just sort of the physical fact that my nose had swollen and I had nosebleeds. I've got to say, I was so well looked after by Macmillan. I couldn't fault Worthing Hospital. I couldn't fault any of the surgeons. Everybody was absolutely fantastic. I was appointed my own cancer nurse. She looked after me. She went through the procedure. And to be perfectly honest, I could not fault that system, but it was the waiting, the anticipation, not knowing. And I think the thing was, I was still in shock because it had all happened so quickly. I didn't have time to actually digest it at the time. It wasn't till after, when I was starting to heal, after the operation, maybe many months down the line, that it hit me. Very daunting, the whole thing. The actual operation itself went well, which I was very pleased to say, but I don't deal with anaesthetics very well. I'm very poorly after them, which didn't help the healing process. And it was knowing how to manage my expectations of what I'd actually gone through, and not realise that I'd have to go in for perhaps more surgery because I had to further down the line. It was my choice, but I had to have implants put in, which took two more operations. I had magnets put in, so further down the line I could have a magnetic nose, which is exactly what I've got now, which has been my saviour. But it was just the whole length of the process. It was the waiting game. And the unfortunate thing was, yes, I was seen very, very quickly, but we hit the pandemic. And yes, it was great for me because I had my nose all bandaged up. I could go out with face masks on and nobody would know anything had happened. That was fine. But it was the waiting period of waiting to be seen. I was luckier than most. I think with breast cancer, unfortunately, it's so prevalent. Loads and loads of people have breast cancer. Not many people have nose cancer. So I was quite lucky in the fact that I was seen very quickly. If I hadn't have been seen within that 2-week period, it could have spread it quickly. And I would have fortunately, I didn't have to have radiotherapy or chemo. And I was very, very lucky to not have those, because if I'd have gone down that line, I could have partially lost my sight, and I could have partially I wouldn't have been able to have had magnetics inserted into my skeleture frame, my face. They're called margins, and they were saying that the margins were where they should be. That was probably after maybe a year. I can't quite remember. All the dates seem to roll into one. I think it was probably after a year. I still see my cancer ENT consultant every 3 months. And the only place it could come back is in my nodules, in my neck. So he checks my neck. And apart from having a lovely massage, which I do enjoy, apart from my surgeon being quite hunky, but apart from that, if I'm allowed to say that. But at the end of the day, I've had to put some humour into this. It's not pleasant. I can't say I love living without a nose because I'd be lying. I don't. People look at me and think, yes, it's brilliant, it looks fantastic. It may look brilliant, but underneath all of this, it's not. I can tell you that now. It's sore, it irritates my skin. I have to take it off at night time. I have to wear a brace across my nose at night to keep the magnets clear. I had to have other operations to clear the skin because it kept growing over the magnets. So I have been through the mill, but there is one factor in this whole thing. I didn't realise this, and when I was under the knife for the first time, there were obviously lady doctors in there. No disrespect to the men here, but they said, do you think Lou would like a lip lift? So they said, too right, she'd love a lip lift. They had to do it because where I've had my nose taken away, my lip would have fallen down. So they had to do it anyway. I didn't know this until about 2 weeks after. My cancer nurse said, Lou, you had a lip lift. I said, did I? People have to pay money for this. I take the, I don't know whether anybody's watched The Greatest Showman. I am brave, this is me, and this is who I'm meant to be. And I often quote that, and I used to quote it for my daughter, and she quotes it as well. And it's quite a poignant thing, because the thing is, you don't know what life has got in store for you. I came out of the pandemic, I was working at the airport, the airports were closed down for 2 years, so obviously I couldn't go back in that period of time. Due to go back, bang, cancer hits. You couldn't write it. It was just such a shock. I mean, when I first saw the lumps on my nose, I thought, it's just maybe just something that they can clear. I didn't have the foggiest, I didn't have an idea that they'd have to remove the whole nose. That was such an incredible shock. And also, as I say, when I woke up, I mean, I wouldn't look in the mirror properly for about 9 months because it was horrendous. I was crying and sobbing my heart out some of the time, but I had to be strong. And also I had counselling, which actually helped me through the cancer. She was fantastic. I managed to have her for 18 months. She was the most incredible lady. Just on the phone, she never saw me, but we had a long chat every single week, sometimes twice a week, and she helped me through it. The Macmillan nurses helped me through it. My friends helped me through it. Everybody did. I still went out to try and be sociable. Nobody could see what was going on because everybody was wearing masks. I think that was my saviour. But what was going on actually inside me was horrible. It was, and then further down the line, obviously when the bandages came off, and I had my first prosthetic nose, I had to get used to looking in the mirror. That was tough, very tough. They gradually did it through doing a little video for me to watch, people without noses, and gradually, bit by bit, my daughter has been a saint. She actually helped me through it to see the videos. She came to all my appointments with me and everything. And that's helped me. I wouldn't say I'm even comfortable without my nose now, but I have to take it off at night. The other thing was, with a glued-on nose, I was frightened about it falling off, which it could do. It could slide off. It could slide off in the heat. It wasn't comfortable. It was sore. I felt I had sore patches all the way around it was just hideous, horrible. Whereas when the magnetic nose, yes, it took a few months to get used to, but it's like clunk, click every trip. It is brilliant. And the other thing that's really, really helped me through this is Cancer United. Macmillan put me onto them. Dwayne, he has been amazing. I've always done exercise. I believe it's very good for you. And I asked the question when I would be safe to exercise. I said probably after a year, so I did. So I talked to my cancer nurse through Macmillan, and she said, well, I know of somebody that's fantastic, Cancer United. And that's what got me started. And it's the fact, the whole story of Jan, having cancer herself, giving up her garage to make into a gym. The whole thing was just such a wonderful story. So I had an interview with Dwayne, and what's so fantastic with Dwayne, he interviews you, he sees what your needs are, and he won't step over the mark, and he starts on a low level, and then you can get higher and higher and higher. And so I started off with just doing the gym, and then he trained as a Pilates teacher, and I absolutely love it. Pilates is a saviour. Now, I couldn't have done that when I had my glued-on nose. When I first came to the gym, there's certain exercises, Dwayne respected this, I couldn't do because I couldn't put my head down. Otherwise, my nose would just slide off. When I got my magnetic nose, I came in, I can remember that day, and I said, Dwayne, I've got my magnetic nose. I can actually put my head down now. I can do more exercises. He has given me so much support, and I want to support Cancer United in the way that they've supported me. What's so lovely about Dwayne's classes, they're small. There are only about 6 of us, at the most 8, and there are about 6 people here. They all introduce themselves, they're all very friendly, and I had to realise that what have they been through? What sort of cancer had they suffered? And obviously some of them were still receiving treatment, so we had less able people. And from that moment, I actually felt quite comfortable because there's certain things that they couldn't do. I thought, can I do some of these things? And yes, I could. And, and I thought, it was just an amazing feeling. And I came out of the gym thinking, I want to go back. I want more of this. I enjoyed it so much, and I'm still enjoying it. If I had have gone to just an ordinary gym, I'd have felt out of my depth. And I thought, what would happen if my nose actually came off? Because the magnetic nose can still come off if I knocked it sideways. I'd feel humiliated, I'd feel embarrassed, I wouldn't feel as I belonged, and I wouldn't feel comfortable doing the exercises. Whereas with Dwayne, he's properly trained, he knows what he's doing, he deals with cancer patients all the time, as well as doing other exercise programs elsewhere. And that's why I feel most comfortable, and it has helped my mental health, and especially Pilates. because you've got something really to focus on. You know, it's very good for meditation, it's very good for breathing as well, and just the general core of your body. And yeah, and I do feel great about doing it, and I think that really has helped. I mean, prior to that, my mental health wasn't great. It wasn't great. I tried to keep things going. I was lucky I had my daughter living with me. Yes, we did do a few things at home. I was able to do a few bits and pieces, but not into the real exercise. I could do gentle exercises. We did things online, things like that. And fortunately, as I say, I had my counsellor, and she really, really did help. I used to sob my heart out on the phone to her. It's talking to somebody outside the box, which has, but there again, interesting fact, even all my consultants have said this, Lou, we don't know what you've been through. We couldn't begin to know what you've been through because we've never been through it. And that's a very poignant thing. I wouldn't have felt ready 6 months down the line ago to actually tell my story, but I feel quite confident about telling it now, because what I want to do is help people to realise that cancer isn't the end. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And even if somebody says, oh, well, you've only got a few weeks to live, I don't believe that. People have fought on. I've known several friends in that situation, and they're still here today. So I think it's a matter of being confident and trying to be positive. Just saying to yourself each day, this is me, this is who I'm meant to be, and I am brave. Because to be perfectly honest, it's that everybody says to me, Lou, you're so brave, you know, to go through that. They say it, but they don't quite understand what I've actually been through. And that's what I want to be able to try and get out there. I think my closing message would be, stay strong, be bold, whatever's going on in your body, fight it. Don't give up, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I believe that Cancer United can help. They can help definitely with it, and exercise is so important. I'll just tell you one thing before I close. My mum lived to 101, and that was through exercise. So it proves the point. No, she didn't have cancer, but she lived to that age. And so I believe that exercise helps not only mental health, it helps your actual physical state.